folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing with leather and I'm going to be making a dog collar from start to finish. I'm designing it all roughly off the existing dog collar that we've got, so that's 471mm by 28mm. I've actually got some brass that works out perfectly all those sizes. So yeah, we just start off by drawing the two rectangles that we need. You'll see why it's two in a wee while, but the second size is 65 by 25mm. So now that we've got them done, I'm going to put in a couple of rectangular guide boxes there. That's purely just for guides, and the first one's 50mm. And what this is doing is it's producing the little fold over at the end where the buckle will go. So that smaller rectangle that we're seeing is where the centre of the slot for the buckle will be through the leather. So now we'll make that slot itself. It needs to be 5mm tall, and I'm going for 20mm, allowing for that bend when you bend it over, and you'll see again later in the video exactly how that's going to look. So we're just using the align tools then, and we'll just select both the items and then center align them, and then using the little tool there we'll just make that a curved hole. So now that we've done that, this is where we move on to the second rectangle, and that is for the D-ring that you would clip the leash onto. So it needs to be sort of somewhere in the middle there. We'll just sort of drag it across, get a rough idea of where we want it. To begin with, I was thinking that a rivet each side would be enough, so that's what I use. I use just one rivet hole. I'm keeping everything square and sharp edged at the moment, but I'll go into the video later and curve all the corners basically. So here is how I line up my circles. If I want it bang on in the middle, I just draw a box, a square box, the same size, height as the rectangle above, so it's 25mm in this case. I line everything up, and then I can align the centre, the circle to the centre of the box, just like that, and then that's bang on. And then I'll just copy both of those, Control C, and then Control V to paste it back in, and then align it to the right hand side there. And then now I've done that, I can just go ahead and delete those two squares because I don't need them anymore. So now I've got to centre align these, nice and easy again. You just select all three items and then press the centre align button. Now here's where I can curve this one in, just like that, and then that'll eventually get stitched on top of the main belt of the collar, or the main collar. So now I'm making another guide box, and this is just to allow for the width of the D-ring in the middle there. This is where I decided I was going to put two rivets on each side of this bit, just so it's nice and secure. You don't want this popping off and your dog escaping and chasing some wee granny down the road. So I'm just, everything's eyeballed here. Just I know rough sizes of how big my my rivets are, so I'm just basically doing it by eye. So having spent that time sorting them out, I actually realised that I didn't correct the size of the holes for the pop rivets, so I'm going to do that on this one. I believe that they're 3mm, and that's what I changed it to, just here, using that box up the top. And then you have to ungroup them, and I move them apart, just separating them, spacing them out so they look decent, and allowing for the head of the rivet so it's got space either side, not to interfere with the D-ring that's going to be underneath that. So now that I'm happy with that, I'll just copy those two and paste them onto the other side, and then centre align everything and make sure everything looks brilliant basically. So I'll tweak finally, and then we can get that pasted across. So that's that bit roughly done. We can just align it all and then place it onto the belt itself after getting rid of the guide there. So we'll just select that and then press delete on the keyboard, and that easily gets rid of that. So we're selecting this now and then just dragging it up, positioning it roughly where it'll go, and then copying it and pasting it below, and then getting rid of the border, because all we need on the actual belt itself is the holes, and that's so we can line it up later in the job. So now I've drawn another few boxes there, and what I'm doing is I'm just copying the same holes from before, and I'm making more rivet holes for either side of that buckle. So I'm wanting 4 here, so I'm just again copy and pasting. It's a way forward, it saves you having to redraw everything, and then using your align tools, it's so handy. So you'll see me doing a lot of tweaking here. It's just, I do a lot by off the top of my head, so there's nothing is measured massively, roughly. Yeah, I measure stuff and then I just play around in the actual app itself, or Inkscape should I say. So what I've done is I've drawn a box 10mm wide there, just to help with aligning those 4 rivet holes, and then what I'll do is I'll copy it all once I've aligned it all. So now that I've copied it, I can just go ahead and paste it onto the other side. You can see it's went behind the object there, so I just press page up and that brings it up to the front of the layer. And then again, it's just a case of using those align tools to your advantage and lining everything up. So again, I can get rid of those guide squares, group both of those sets of rivet holes and align them off the centre of the hole for the buckle there, and then delete those guides because we don't need them anymore. Now we can work on getting some buckle holes for the, I don't know what you call it, the little prong that goes through the buckle. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a series of lines, straight lines, just so that it's easier for me to measure to the precise point where I know for the dog that it was designed for, where it needs to be, basically the hole that they use in their current leash collar. Sorry. So that line that I've just drawn horizontally, it needs to be 33 centimeters or 330mm, and then I can just left align them to that other line that I've lined up with the centre of the buckle hole. So now that I've got that in place, I can start drawing out my holes for the prong on that buckle, like a normal sort of collar belt sort of thing would be. So again, I'm just drawing a rough circle and then I resize it down to 4mm, which will be perfectly big enough for the prong, and then I can right align it to the end of that line, and then that's roughly in the position where it needs to be. So here I got a bit carried away. I started drawing a series of boxes, trying to align a few different holes up all the way along, and I end up just using that vertical distribute tool that's in the align section. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't have enough coffee on this day. I think that was a problem. That end hole would have been far too close to the edge, so I faffed about with this for far too long, and then decided just to use that centre line and distribute even, and then I can round off that end, which automatically rounds off the other end. So that's basically the layout of the whole leash, and here you can start going crazy. I started adding details in that we could engrave into it. Again, you can add whatever you wanted. I just thought paws would be quite a cool wee idea. Again, it's just figuring out how you want the pattern to be, laying them out roughly, tweaking them, playing with them, see how you like it. You can see further along there that I put the address, well, I put an address, it's just a fake one, and then it's handy if your dog goes missing or whatever, like I said earlier, escapes and tries to catch that wee granny that's walking down the road. I chose to personalise this with a nice big name. I played around with different options, but this is probably the best bit. Again, you just go do what you feel, basically. This is all just an experiment to see how good the laser does with leather. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add stitching holes, because I thought, as well as the rivets, I think we should add some stitching holes, and it's quite a complex, is it a complex? No, there's info out there on how to do it. It's quite easily done, and there's tools within like Inkscape to make it easier. Originally I was going to do circle holes, but I decided to go against that. So what I'm doing just now is I'm creating another guide box which is going to be 3mm high, and I want that because I want to create a offset of 3mm on the inside of that box, and that's the easiest way to do it. So you just go to linked offset and drag that line down, and you can see it's 3mm on the inside. Now that I've done that, I can delete the box and I can convert the inner line, the offset, into a path. So now that I've done that, I draw out my wee circle, but later I decide to change it to an oval at a slight degree, slight angle. But yeah, see, there's the oval now, and then now we've done that, we can go to extensions and generate from path, and then pattern along path. It's quite a handy wee tool, this. There's loads that you can do, but I just need it for its basic features, which I forgot to turn on initially. The pattern is vertical, that's why it doesn't look quite right, but then I go through the settings, changing the width there of the stitch down to like 3mm, and then eventually click that pattern as vertical, and we get what you can see here. Yes, I've got an overlapped one, but that's fine. So once you've played about in this box, you can just hit apply, as long as you're happy with how it looks. I'm fairly happy. I know I can edit that little oval, so we'll just hit apply, and then we need to select them, and then ungroup, and then we'll select one of them, delete it, and then move that one across just a fraction so it evens out that last stitch there. Okay, so now that we've done that, I want to put vertical stitches either side of where the D-ring will sit. So I'm just copying 4 of the ovals so they're the same gap and same distance. Then we'll delete the middle 2, top and bottom, just like that, just by drawing a box round and then hitting the delete key again on the keyboard. So now we select the 4 again, and we'll group them and then rotate them and then flip them so that eyelets are pointing in the same direction as everything else, and roughly place that in place. I've spent far too long trying to get it bang on, and then decide to draw another guide box at 7mm wide, I believe. Yep, I drew it at 7mm. See, I'm doing this off memory, and my memory is shocking, so I'm actually nailing it here. I always get a wee bit confused with the next tool that I'm going to use, but we'll figure that out. So I'm just copying and pasting another setting, and then for this one I'm using those little corner reference points. Again, I always confuse which one I need to press, but I'll get there eventually. And then you see it will snap across onto the other side, and then again it's just a case of selecting that and the outer ring, and then hitting that middle align button. With this one, a wee bit easier. I remembered which one to get, and then again just center it all up, delete that middle box because we don't need that anymore. So now that I've done that, I can just go ahead and align everything and then get rid of that line because we don't need it anymore. That's just a guide for our stitch holes, and then what I do is I'll just select it all and place it on. So now that that's all done, you can see the general feel of the whole thing. To make it easier in Lightburn though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the engraving job from the cutting job, and that just means that when I come to selecting in Lightburn, it's so much easier. So now it's just a case of copying and pasting it all over into Lightburn, like you can see here. So the settings for how I engrave and cut will come up when I'm filming that section, which is very soon. So to save a little bit of time, this is a wee tip that I've got for everybody. If you've got like a big gap like I have between the dress and the paw prints and stuff, you can change it to different colours and then have the same settings, but what it means is it runs at a different time. So you can see here I'm changing the address to red, I believe. Once I've ungrouped it, just select it again, go down and pick another job there, and I'll remember to reorder it though. Have your engraving jobs before your cut jobs, otherwise when you cut it the whole thing could move and then it's ruined. So now that I've done that, I can just go ahead and select the outer side of the belt and use the set or align tool within Lightburn. So now we're over at the laser, we're just running it, you can see here that I'm engraving at 250 millimeters a second with 70% power, minimum and maximum, with the air assist on. If you've never done leather before, it's probably important to note that it stinks. It's like, oh, it's foul. I really don't like engraving leather or cutting it, to be fair, just how smelly it is. Even with the best filtration system in the world, I genuinely believe that you could still smell it. So for the cutting settings then, I'm doing 20 millimeters a second, because this is 3mm thick leather at 45% power maximum and 15% power minimum. Again, with the air assist on, you can see this is really making short work of the lasering. I'm really impressed with just how capable this Mira 9S is doing. I've not struggled to find settings for anything really. Again, it's important to do material tests, etc. You can probably notice those 3 little holes up the top there. That was just 3 basic tests that I did just to see how it does, and it cut really well. So we'll get it out, give it a wee clean, and then off camera I'm going to put it together basically. I'm going to rivet it all, and then I'll stitch it off camera and bring it back in so you can see it. But it's done a really good job. The engraving's nice and deep. You can't really see it in this angle, but when I show you once it's built, it looks fantastic in my opinion. It's dead easy just to clean off any extra soot marks or smoke marks just with a damp rag that you can see me doing here, and it cleans it up nice and easily. You can see the ming that came off there. But yeah, it's an easy process and it cleans up nice. So if you've not fully understood my method behind my madness, you can understand it a wee bit better hopefully here. So we've got that slot for the buckle prong, the 4 holes there for the rivets, and then the 4 holes for the D-ring attachment. You can see just how deep that is. It's quite nice actually, I like it, and it's so clear. The engraving's amazing. It's nice and tidy, and there you can see my less than perfect stitching, and then the 5 holes at the end for the buckle to go into. I'm really happy with how this job turned out. It looks awesome, and it was a pretty straightforward job on the whole. This has been an awesome wee job, just testing out the capabilities of leather. I'm really happy how it turned out. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe for more future content. Thanks folks, bye.